So today is the first time I have a guest coming to my podcast, and we would like to interview all different energy type in human design, and also curious about their story using their special type and special strategies, how they successfully manage their life and business. And today we have family dynamic coach Sasha Clark, and she's gracefully to accept us the first guest. So let Sasha say hi to everybody.
Hi, I'm very honored to be here. I feel actually very grateful that you asked me, and I hope that you have many more fun conversations after this one. What a great idea.
Yeah, and we have our childhood experience, and we have different energy type, and also the programming and conditioning depends on where we go. Like me, I'm from the East, and then I program in the East when I growing up, but then I moved to West. I have to reprogram myself to adapt to that environment. So we constant doing those kind of thing, right? But
Right.
sometimes we are not aware we're doing it until
hmm
maybe we get slow down our lifestyle and get more space and pauses, and then we start to see ourselves differently. So, Sasha, would you like to share with us about your type
Sure.
and maybe your family type and how you manage your family dynamic?
Yeah, that'd be great. I am a 6'2" mental projector, so that just basically means I'm pretty much a role model kind of energy throughout my life. And the line sixes go through three distinct stages of their life. And my husband's also a 6'2", but he's a generator. And so it's interesting that we both basically, we got married when we were in our early 30s. And so we had really settled that first part of our life down, and then we got married. And the second season of our life, we have been really homebodies together. We have 4 children. We have an older daughter who is 25, so she's out of the house. And then we have an 11-year-old son. They're both generators. She's an emotionally defined generator. My first son is a pure generator, so he's just sacral defined. And then my second son, third child, is an emotionally defined generator. And then my baby, who's actually 5 now, so he's not really a baby anymore, but he is an emotional projector. And so so when you talk about conditioning, I think some people are like trying really hard not to be conditioned by people. And in my family environment, it's just like it's kind of just the normal weather here is that I have to just make space as a projector in my day to just be alone in my own aura. And teaching my youngest to spend some time by himself occasionally has also been challenging because there's a 4.5 year age difference between him and his older brother.
Hmm.
He just tries really hard to keep up with those 2 generators all day long, and it's exhausting for him. And so what I do a lot of times is I will I don't know if you can see my space very well, but like there's a kind of an entertainment area over here, and
Yes,
my
yes.
generator boys will sit over there and play video games. And he has a desk right next to mine. And so I'll be like, do you want to come over here and work with me? Because it's more than 6 feet away. It gives him a chance to kind of diffuse some of that sacral energy so it's not driving him so hard. Lucky for him, he has a defined root, so he doesn't have that pressure to finish things to get it off his plate like I do. But he does. It's really hard. It's really been an interesting experience for me to try to teach my children about their design, in language that they can understand. And I hear that complaint a lot from parents I work with, that like it's hard enough for them to get used to their own design and learn their own
Mhm.
strategy and authority, and learning to be more patient with and wait for something to respond to. I mean, even manifestors have to wait for something. They're waiting for that internal like divine timing, right? And
Yes.
so just learning to wait, I think takes a lot of work for some people, and learning to, work with their solar plexus wave or whatever they're learning about. And then they're like, but then to like translate that to one of my children whose design is way different than mine, I just have a hard time like conceptualizing that and carrying the information I'm learning about myself over into now from a new perspective. And so I'm really adept at being able to put myself in other people's shoes. And again, I assume that's because I have so many open, undefined centers in my body graph. I also used to do counseling before in another, feels like a whole lifetime ago. And so I love to hear people's stories. It helps me to kind of empathically like try to walk a mile in their shoes and try to imagine what their experience through their eyes is like. And then that's when I come in and say, let's try to look at this from a couple different angles, you know, and see what else is also true, because your truth is true and the way you experienced it is also true. But it's also possible if we look at it from across the street or up above or, you know, whatever, from the child's perspective, it can look very different depending on which angle we're looking at it from. And so that's really the magic sauce I bring to my family and to my clients, is just like, let's just brainstorm some different ways of looking at this and see what else is true. And then, you know, we always go back to their authority and go, what does that resonate with you, and follow what their internal authority is saying is the next right step. So, but yeah, you're right. Guiding generators, I got, has been basically a skill I've mastered in my own home because I'm surrounded by them.
Yeah. So I need to kind of just highlight, Sasha just share, she has this insights about others, feeling others' energy, because that's projected too. They are very intuitive. This one of their strengths. And also they are more because they need the energy from generators. So a generator actually doing things based on her direction. So if she doesn't give out the direction, family member around them, they are generator, which is kind of just like doing whatever, and they waste a lot of energy to run different angle and everywhere. So the projectors really just give the generator or the manufacturing generator more of the direction, and they are like herding the sheep go to the right place. Not like it's dispersed to everybody. But because that sometimes the downside, based on I learning, and one of my sons in projector too, and will be burning now because they believe they're just like generator, have to do stuff. But projector really don't have the build or the mental energy to really do too much. They can do something, but they're easy to become burnout, you know, just go too much, because when the generator is gone, then you don't have a way to sustainable rebuild your energy. So you need a generator around you to keep that going. So I wonder, is that something you experience when you are building your business, because you are a projector?
Yeah, definitely. So, and really, again, like I said, like I told you before we got on camera, I don't really believe that projectors are meant to guide and manage people, although some of us do. Definitely a coaching process is guiding a person, but I really see it more as guiding energy, and everyone has energy. Either they're producing it in their sacral, or it's flowing through them because they have open centers, or they're not. I mean, like it can be so confusing if you have an open solar plexus like I do. For the longest time, I thought all of these waves of emotion that were happening in my house were mine. And it was so freeing to find out they actually aren't mine most of the time. And I can choose to engage with it or not. And a lot of times I've found through my experience with playing with that energy and managing that energy is that the people in my life, well, like I told you, I have four generators. Of the four of them, three of them are emotionally defined, and then my projector baby is also emotionally defined. And so I do get a lot. I sometimes feel like a boat in the ocean, you know, and there's all these different crashing waves, and then sometimes they crash against each other, and I'm like, whoa, you know. And so I've chosen to not assign the meaning of overwhelm to that, and instead go, wow, I'm going to become this master surfer on all these waves, and I'm just going to learn to not get attached to them because they're not mine. And so I just posted on my Instagram and sent out an email about, like, the holidays are coming up in the United States, and there's holidays usually come with a lot of change in schedules. Maybe we eat at different times because of parties and gatherings, and maybe our sleep schedule changes. I know my children are already preparing for the 4th of July fireworks by staying up just a little later and sleeping in a little later in the morning, so that it's not too much of a crash to their systems. And especially my projector, because he needs a lot of rest. And anyway, so But when you change sleep habits and when you change eating habits, that makes it harder for children to regulate their own emotions. And then they're also disconnecting from their parents a little more. My kids will be, because they'll be playing with other kids and not in my aura, helping regulate themselves as much. And so I'm just preparing myself mentally for the fact that there will probably be some big waves of emotion this weekend. And so I thought, oh, I wonder if other parents might want to know that too. And so I've trained myself to use this visualization that I'm like the sand on a beach and that the wave is not attached to me. I mean, sand doesn't really absorb. It quickly absorbs, but also quickly releases the water off of the wave.
Yes.
And so that's what I imagine myself doing when one of my children come into my aura with a big feeling. I just see myself as that sand and let them just crash their wave on me, because it will mute it down if I don't react to it. I have found if I try to stop it or fix it, it just gets louder and bigger. So
yeah, exactly. That's
right.
how the energy really create, because that's paradoxical. Sometimes we say we don't want it, we push it away, but energy is different, because there is like, it's just a force. When you push it, they need to balance, so they will push it back. Otherwise, they cannot balance that dynamic. So when we choose to do that, guess what? We got more of the resistance.
And that's so exhausting, right? That whenever we're in resistance, because I know you're really a master at talking about like reducing the resistance of our own life and working with our own energies so that we can have more satisfaction, more joy, right? Resistance is just that. It's like, it's like if you think about electricity, when you have a resistor, it takes a lot of work to slow the energy signal through there, right? The electric signal through the resistor. And that's what it happens when we act as that resistor to energy, is that we have to put up a ton of energy to fight it. And and then we get, as a projector, then I would get bitter about just being so tired. And I'm not actually upset with my children. I'm just tired, the learning to cooperate with my own need cycle of rest has been a huge game changer in our family. Huge.
Yes. So I just so fascinated about your awareness about all the things.
Thank you.
It just we all have this opportunity to observe ourselves, but maybe we just get too busy. Maybe we just focus on the negativity, so we focus on dealing the resistance other than just to find out what's the flow of life. And I think you are being the critical work to help other parents to raise their kids like consciously and observe their behavior and make sure giving more space. And being the parents also just need to be kind of more grounded. When they come in, let it come, then they come and they go on to play. And sometimes being the parent just continue to worry about, they feel that way, but like they're okay. They actually don't care anything anymore, but it's still kind of like holding down in your heart, right? So I think that's so amazing. You're joining our community, hoping we can continue to have a conversation and invite other type of energy and understand we are not here to really feeling all this bitterness and dissatisfied and all this anger. It's just because the conditions we are not aware. Because like conditions, not only just people just try to program you, but in the sound wave, you have this 4 seasons and everything is energy.
Right.
It will have some impact, influence on our energy flow on the daily basis, or even like momentary basis. Somebody, if I go shopping and someone really have an anger, I can feel that anger when I'm getting close to that person.
Yeah.
So we need to know the conditioning is not something like somebody try to just program you and go to let you to sleep. No, it's happening every time with everything around us.
Yeah, I don't think conditioning is the necessary evil that we've made it out to be, but I don't know, I'm kind of a Netflix person. I don't know if you've ever seen that series called White Collar. It's a series about this white collar criminal who basically gets a pass out of prison in order to help the FBI catch other counterfeits. And one of the things he teaches the investigator that he's working with is that the best way to tell the difference between a counterfeit and a real, $100 bill, for example, is to study the original enough that you can see the subtle difference right away. And so I think that's the beauty of Gene Keys and human design, is that the more I study what is natural energy for me, and the more I study what is natural energy for one of my children, I'm much quicker to recognize when one of us is acting in our not self. And then I can just choose a different reaction to that. I don't have to put the same weight on all of the data that I'm getting from my family members, my husband especially, because I have to talk about this because so many people like I'm super into human design, but my husband's like, ooh, that's kind of weird. I don't want to talk about that too much. My husband has learned so much about human design just from me reacting a little differently to his design but he still is like, I don't know why you have to know all that. And I'm like, well, you don't have to know all that because I do. But he's like, it doesn't matter to me which gate did that. What I really need to know is how to deal with it differently. And I do hear that a lot from other parents too, that he's like, I'd love the guidance about what to do differently, but I don't necessarily need to memorize the whole chart. So my encouragement to most people would be, though, like, do really study your own chart. Do really get familiar with your own energy, because that's your surefire defense against conditioning, because you will be able to tell. Like I have an open root, for example. And so when my kids are pressuring me to make a quick decision, I already know, because I have to make a decision quickly, in their opinion, that I'm getting root pressure from them. And so I will physically just like step back a little bit and break the aura connection so that I'm not being conditioned, and I can use my own thought process. I don't have to, when it's a decision for them, I can use my mind because my mind's there for them. But if it's a decision that's about me, I have to use my strategy and authority. And I can't do that when I'm right inside their aura, because I can't control the fact that I absorb energy. That's what projectors do.
Because
So
you project their opinion so much, you don't have a way to really connect with your own.
Yes. So I've kind of given up. Like, some people are on a mission to decondition, and I think that's wise. I think it's wise to decondition as much as you can. But I also think some of it, like you said, if you're out in the sunshine, the seasons change. There's not much you could really do about neutrino weather, right? The sun activating different gates every week. So I'm just like, I think the better answer is to really know what is mine and what's not, and just stick to, that's the stuff I can control, is what's my energy and what I'm responsible for inside my own hoop. And then if something comes into my awareness that isn't mine, I'll recognize it, because I'm very familiar with what is mine.
Yeah, that is the wisdom. It's a self-awareness, not because to pinpoint like what's wrong with me, other than to understand, if a certain situation might behave differently, and you just start to observe our own behaviors, then we can see our patterns, through observation, not through reacting. Because when we're reacting, we only focus on that, how to turn that energy around. But when you observe, you see the whole picture easier, because you can see, oh, I do this when someone say that, but that's someone not really just a bad person. It's just when your energy is not really resonate for something, or even to trigger you to think differently. But that, for me as a habit coach, it's a given, it's a blessing, because when someone give me something I feel triggered, that give me the sign. Say, what is something I still hold on, so we have the strong resistance, because it must have something in my energy field to block it. So if I totally in peace and easy, I have fun, I allow everything to happen, I invite them to go through. But when I feel the trigger or resistance, that is the sign. I need to find that place, then let it go. So
why is that triggering me so much? That's brilliant. I love it. Just a quick example, because we've talked so much about the difference between generators and manifesting generators, and projectors, non-sacral beings. So when you're trying to start a conversation with a generator, one of the tips I give is to really get that sacral energy moving by asking some yes and no questions. Right. And you're doing it even in this interview. I think it's so cute. And when kids are small, we tend to talk to all kids that way in yes and no questions, right? Because we're trying to limit the options for the toddler. But my projector has never responded well to yes and no questions. And that's because he doesn't have something inside his body saying, or he just doesn't. And a lot of times when I say, do you want chicken nuggets for lunch? He'll say, yeah, and then change his mind right away, because his emotional wave kicks in, like, oh no, actually, I was thinking about, whatever, quesadillas or something. And so then he gets all emotional, and I'm like, oh no, now we can't make a decision because you're having a wave. So whatever, we have to wait. But anyway, so what I've learned from my own kids is just to use open-ended questions with my non-sacral family members, and to use the yes and no questions to start a conversation with my generators. And sometimes what that sounds like, especially with my middle boy, so my third child, he's my middle of the boys, third child. He has 2 of the 3 deaf gates, which I go over in the PDF too. And so he really literally has like dual core processor in his head, and half of his head is always trying to solve a big problem. And if I try to talk to him when that thing's running hard, he literally can't hear me. And it's super amazing because he's a genius. But so I actually have to start off with him saying, hey, can I talk to you for a second? Which is a yes, no question.
Stop
And
first.
he'll say, no, I can't right now. Can you just wait a second? And then I can see visibly on his face, his processor starting to slow down. And then he'll be like, okay, I can talk now. What's up? And I'm like, oh, well, this is really important. Can you shut that down first? That's another yes, no question. Can you just focus for a second? And then he'll be like, yeah, and you can see his eyes like come into focus, and his energy like, okay, I'm with you now. And then I can insert whatever information he needs. It's super. But if I just like try to talk to him from across the room, he never ever hears me. And I used to get so mad and raise my voice and like, how come you're never listening to me? And it has nothing to do with me. He loves me very much and respects me a lot. Actually, he respects me a lot more, knowing that I respect his energy. Yeah. The first time I tried that on him, we were driving in the car. I don't know. It was just something I had been studying his chart, and I had this aha, like, oh, I need to interrupt his thinking before I talk to him. And so I tried it on him in the car, and he looked at me, and the look in his eyes, he was like almost crying. He's like, how did you know that? And I'm like, I don't know. I just have tricks, I just kind of like brushed it off.
That's the projector. They're natural. They are insightful. They are intuitive.
No, but then what he said next was super. He literally is like almost crying. He's like, could you please tell my dad that trick? I really think that would make things so much easier between the 2 of us. And I was like, he felt so seen. And it just totally, like I rode on that cloud for weeks. I was like so happy my child felt respected and honored for who he really is. Because he knows that bothers us when he can't listen to us, and he just can't, but he feels powerless to change it because it's his natural energy.
Exactly.
And so, that's like me trying to ask an apple tree to grow oranges. Like it just he can't, So anyway, and he'll also, I think the more we play with it, as he becomes an adult, I really have faith that because he knows that about himself, he'll be able to choose to stop. Like if he's talking to a boss and he knows they don't know this about me, I should really just force a hard stop in my brain so I can pay attention, but he needs to know that about himself so he can change it. So he can work with it instead of against it.
We really, that's really the thing, the whole life we can do whatever, but the really important thing is to really just self-discovery, not just the personality. Because a lot of people say, oh, I do all the personality type, I'm this and that, I'm color, that. But this is just personality. And the human design really integrate our design, which is our divine energy flow, in certain way will influence our personality. But the personality and design need to really become a quantum view, then merge them together. So yes, we do have personality, we can do, people can see us differently. But then if we don't even know our rooted essence and how really we are down into that iceberg, right? 95% of all the behavior still invisible. We just have that, but we don't even know we have that. And that's very great to self-discover and aware. Also goes to, for me, the gene keys and human design are the just the great tools, because they don't really define us, say this is who you are, but they give us the tool to, just like you said, once you've understand your own design, you can start to manage your life better, because we don't need to just be blind to react to something. We can say, oh, this is not even my energy, why I bother, right? So you just get it and you cool down, let it go. But if we don't know, we're just dealing with that downloading or emotion waves, then we miss the trend. We are supposed to hop on the trend, but we still stay here fighting, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Well, I've actually compare human design to other personality tests a lot. I think that most of the personality tests are kind of hogwash, actually, because they really rely on our mind's judgment of our own
Yes.
behavior
Yes.
in order for us to make an assessment. So, I mean, for example, Myers-Briggs, you mentioned Myers-Briggs. I used to type as an ENTJ, but then I changed one of my work settings, and I was in a work setting where I really had to use a lot of that ajna energy and organize and manage tasks so they would get done, which is a very ENTJ way of behaving, right? Well, then as soon as I stopped working there, and then I was gone for about 6 months, I took the test again, and I ended up being an ENFJ. So I'm still intuitive, right? But how did that happen? I didn't just change my personality, but I have an open G center. So the truth is that that I was absorbing different energy when I took the test the
Yes.
second time. And then one time I typed as an INFJ, and I'm like, there's no way I'm an INFJ. But I was
not
going
your
through,
energy, it's just your mind saying you need to do this. You out
need rest.
shooting.
Yeah. Well, and it was also at the beginning of the pandemic where I was home a lot and I was behaving a lot more introvertedly, and I was spending most of my time with
Well,
my
that
two
is just
favorite
the
introverts.
process. Once
Yeah.
we allow ourselves have more space, and we
Mhm.
easy to go back to our true self, other than just jump out to react to perform, right?
Yeah.
We will always wear a mask, and then we get away from our true energy. Then eventually we're just using the wrong strategies to
Mhm.
run our life. Then
That's right.
your body is not going to be happy. It's
Right.
not really in sync, right? We are out of our sync, and then all the
Right.
pain, all this disease, and sleepless nights will is gradually come into our life, and that
Or
is
or
not.
even just like the extra stress, and I mean, you can kind of get anxiety from living
Yes.
against your design. And I'm not, and again, I want to clarify, like, if you're a person listening to this that actually has a diagnosed anxiety disorder, that's not what I'm talking about. But people
Mhm.
without that disorder can cause themselves a lot of anxiety and extra worry and stress hormones in the body just from
Yes,
resisting our own flow. So
that's
it's
right.
definitely great for our health to become in alignment with who we really are too.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, thank you so much to have a
yeah.
conversation with us today. And just like I mentioned, if you're interested in the family dynamics and or your own design as a
Yeah.
projector, I think you got to ask for it right here. So don't
Thanks.
waste your energy to find somebody else. Just connect with
Yeah,
Sasha and get some Jane, and
sure.
connect with her, follow her around, listen for more of the wisdom around parenting.
Yes. And thank you again for inviting me. I also just encourage your followers. You can always just drop questions in your group too, right? And you are an expert on gene keys, and learning to use those sequences and I love that generators master whatever they put their task to. And so you definitely have a wise resource here in the group too. So yeah, definitely. I think one of the big time wasters in life, I'm all about efficiency, right? One of the big time wasters in life is trying to Google everything I need to know about my chart. Like, just there's so many different teachers out there, and so many different ways of, I don't know. Sometimes I think it'd be just less overwhelming for people just to ask the question that's on their mind.
Exactly.
The
Yeah,
people that are really playing with the energy, and take it one step at a time. You don't have to master it all in one day. So
yeah. The first
avoid
step
the
is
overwhelm.
always the important. Just have a clear intention what you want to know, not because you want to know it all, because we cannot
Right.
know it all. It's more
Right.
like how I'm going to use it practically to
Yes.
transform my life and transform my relationship, and enhance my health. Those things we can totally in control.
Yeah, my website is www.sashaclark.com. That's really the best way, like, to set an appointment. I'm on Instagram at Sasha1. I'm also on Facebook. Obviously, that's how we connected. And I would be happy to send all the different links to you so that you can share them. I really appreciate that. I do have a podcast too on Spotify called Human Design for Parents and Kids. There's only a few episodes on there so far, but I have recorded quite a few in the last week, so I'll be posting more soon. And I'm just on a mission to really help people enjoy their family lives more. And like you said, it's really just a matter of getting familiar with each other's energy and It's really, for me, it's helped me walk in more understanding and tolerance towards the other humans I live with. And, you know, even if people aren't parents, it's useful with your own parents or with your siblings or with your coworkers, or your friends, you know, if they're willing to let you pull their charts. It's just knowing myself better has helped me be a better friend to other people and more understanding of other people. So it's amazing. I have a freebie on my website. If you go to www.sashaclark.com, there should be a pop-up or something. There's a link there that says Communication by Design, and it's just a download. It's I think it's about 20 pages, and it really goes through 3 major components to cleaning up communication and relationships based on your design and the other person's design. And
so
totally.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Have
Sunny.
a very wonderful long weekend. I will see you around in my group.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I hope you have a wonderful, relaxing weekend as well.
Thank you. Thank you.